Welcome back to the Wonderfires podcast. This is your host, Daniel, and this is Stephen. What's up?
What up, Danny? Appreciate this opportunity. Super excited.
Great. I'm so glad to have you on here, honestly. Just want to tell them a little bit about yourself.
100%. I'm Steven. I am on a mission to help extraordinary souls like Danny here create their dream relationships and lives. And yeah, I've been on a journey since a very young age where I've been in a lot of fortunate situations that allow me to kind of choose like what I want to do. And then, early on, I experienced like a pretty major experience in my life that made me feel like, wow, who am I? What am I here for? What am I in this life, for really? And I really went on a journey, like 15, 16-year journey to really solve my own problem as it pertains to dating, relationships, attraction, love, and all that stuff. And then after I solved my problem completely, I've been on another very exciting journey to help other people create their own dream relationships and lives. So, yeah, that's what I do. That's how I would describe myself. I also describe myself as someone who's as a bit of a perpetual new kid on the block. Ever since I was born, my family and I we moved every 1 to 2 years across different cultures and continents. So as you can hear me and see me, I have an American accent. I was born in the States, but when I was two, my family moved back to Korea, South Korea, where they're originally from. So I spent my childhood predominantly in the capital city, Seoul. And then, yeah, like even within Seoul, we moved around a lot. And basically, over the past, I'm 38, even though a lot of people think that I'm like 21, 22, just like,
Yeah.
by the way they see me. But yeah, I've lived in a lot of different countries, and I'm very fortunate to have experienced all these amazing things that life has to offer. So, yeah, I'll leave it at
That's
that.
a great little intro. And also, jumping back to it, you know how you said you've solved your own problem. What was that problem and how did you solve it?
Thank you. Yeah, the problem really was that couple of problems. Like the number one problem, the major problem I had in my life when I was a kid was that I moved around a lot, and I didn't know why, but I ended up getting bullied a lot. So that was some like another like very, very major stuff. And then as I moved from one place to another, I became very aware of social dynamics, what it feels like to be an outsider. And then I kind of hacked my way around it, and I ended up becoming like, class president, and I become the most popular kid and everything. So I also experienced on the other side of the spectrum what it's like to be, an extreme insider. So I think I just become very attuned to the social dynamic side of things. So that's the first arc, major arc. And then the second major thing that happened in my life was that when I was in my early 20s, like 2021, around this time, I experienced a heartbreak. I thought I found the love of my life at the time. She seemed to have ticked all the right boxes. She was pretty, she was intelligent, smart, and all that stuff. And then, yeah, I liked her. She seemed to like me. We went on a couple of dates, and we weren't even really dating. It was a bit of a situationship. And she essentially stopped talking to me. And I was extremely heartbroken by that, and I didn't know how to really navigate that. And all my life, I believe that, okay, love is something that's just kind of handed to you. And, you just get lucky and then something happens or not. But then this experience really helped me realize that number one, that's a fantasy. That's not true. And number two, I decided to take the matter into my own hands. Okay, what can I do to actually turn it around? And then I was very determined to learn everything that there is to be learned about, as it pertains to love, relationships, dating, attraction, seduction, human dynamics, human connection, and all of that in the romantic context as well. And yeah, I solved my problem by reading a lot of books on these topics, taking a lot of seminars, boot camps. I ended up working with like 15, 20 different coaches. And then, yeah, I went on a bit of a journey because I think I was like very hungry. And I really wanted to not only solve my own issues, but I wanted to completely solve these issues, right? And yeah, I ended up becoming very obsessed with all this stuff. And then suddenly, a few years into it, I realized that not only have I come very close to solving some of these issues, but then I've also realized like a couple of things that made me realize, okay, you know what? I've learned a lot, but I need to also step back and like let me get back into it. So I'll just leave it at that because it's a bit of a long journey, you know?
Yeah. And you're just
Yeah,
like, let's just leave it. Let's just not just give them all. Let's just not like throw the hook and then just leave it out for there for too long, and let's just slowly get in the end.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, so did you have like a sort of like? It sounds like you were very like, as you said, you were very obsessed with just getting that result of more so getting the attraction back of that first girl that pretty much broke your heart and then just reshaped your character. How was your character before, and how did the growth and development change it afterwards?
Mm. Yeah, very good question, brother. I think before I was like, again, I think when I think back to my, younger self, back when I was when I was 20, 21, I think I was a very moody kid. This kind of like happened and I was like blaming myself a lot and I was extremely insecure. I thought that, oh, she's not giving me this closure. It's like instead of me like really actively choosing something, I'm like, okay, something is happening to me. And, life is not going the way I want it to because I'm not enough. I'm not maybe good looking enough. I'm not big enough, tall enough, or I'm not successful enough. I was like very, very self-judgmental, self-critical. Um, Really not a lot of self-love, or self-acceptance really. I didn't even know about these things really. So that's kind of like where I was at. And then after I went on this journey, I learned a lot about myself. And I think the first part of this journey really consisted of just a lot of tactical stuff, just learning how to, for example, approach women cold on the street, at a restaurant, in a cafe, on the subway, this type of stuff. So I think I just like learned how to really stretch my comfort zone and really smash that fear of like interacting with women. Because for context, what I when I was like heartbroken, I was literally depressed for 2 years. I didn't really leave my dorm room. I was avoiding any social interaction. I was just like in my room, and sometimes I would just randomly break down and cry for no reason. So that's kind of like the context. That was before, and then after that, I became, I think I would say, very confident when it comes to like breaking the ice, and then just pushing myself and putting myself out there, and then interacting with people. And I became very good at essentially creating, sparking attraction from nothing, from thin air. I almost felt like a magician, kind of like a street magician, right? But then
Yeah.
instead of performing magic, with like something, I'm performing magic with myself, and then almost kind of getting them to be hooked and everything. So I became very proficient at it. But then one thing that was missing though still was that I think the important thing is that I embarked on this whole journey in order to not feel bad again, not be hurt again, So the context was very much about protecting myself, you know? And then I think I solved that, but then I still didn't know really how to have these like how to really complete my incompletions as it pertains to like how my operating system has been built up, and like what are some of the things that I'm doing unconsciously without even really consciously realizing it. For example, I was like I was going on all these different dates, and I had all these amazing opportunities with these women to create my own dream relationships, and that's what I really wanted. But because I was really hurt, I didn't want to repeat that mistake again. So instead of actually opening my heart back up to these people and to myself, and really jumping into the unknown, and then being scared again, I kind of like learn how to date better. So then I was kind of in this comfort zone of like, okay, let's date, and like, instead of creating my own dream relationship, let's just like avoid that. So that I won't be hurt again, right? So I think I was living with these. I was carrying over these incompletions that I built up, regarding myself, the way I saw myself, the way I saw women, the way I saw men, women, masculine, female, feminine dynamics and everything. So I had all these incompletions and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And the best way, I dealt with it is by just like, instead of really looking deep inside myself, just learning a lot of the mechanics and tactics and all that stuff. So that was like really the first part. But then, yeah, safe to say, I became a pretty confident guy. So that was the first part,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
And now look at you, you're just coaching everyone to be like, oh yeah, you can just like literally just create that magical spark of like, I'm gonna coach you, and also do it in the best way possible. But also, if you're willing to be the student, you can also get the best results if we go back and forth. But I'm like, what? I'm also like your best mate at your shoulder, sort of thing. But it's like that
Mhm.
social dynamic that you still build up. It's very much the mentor mentee, and like even like I'm just saying, even from my own personal experience, like that's what made it so comforting, sort of, if
Mm.
you know what I mean. But yeah, it's just like because
Yeah.
you've been through all those years of pain, and you're just like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to jump a little bit into this pain, like a little bit more and more and more, and keep digging until you get everything out of it, all your experience, and then you're like, I've got this. You've it's better if you just do his coaching. You'll understand what I mean. But yeah,
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, it's pretty fascinating because I think now when I look back at my journey, I was just certainly describing part one, and there's part two, right? And all that stuff. And there, all those parts kind of like are different pieces of the puzzle, and they kind of like fit everything. That's what allows me to really help people in the most powerful way. Uh, at the same time, when I actually look back at my journey, just the fact that I was really driven to solve my own issues, and I also that's what I ended up traveling around the world over 30 different countries, and then living in all these different countries and really putting myself out there, and building up all these amazing memories, not only with these new people but also with like my different brothers that I met along the way, and just like navigating this like huge journey of self-development. Yeah, I would say that's probably the most like the probably the biggest, highest return on investment by far. Obviously, like from an emotional standpoint, financial standpoint, vibe standpoint, certainly. Um, yeah, it's been an incredible journey so far, and it's not over.
also, just going back to the puzzle pieces, is there any piece would you say that's more important than the rest, or is there any pieces that link together that created, let's just say, like a little bit of a mastery of that element within you?
Mm. Yeah, I think yeah, I wouldn't say one piece is more important than the other, but I would say, for example, um, you know, if you were to ask me, hey Steven, I want to learn how to spark attraction, spontaneously, anytime, anywhere, right? I can teach you that. And the thing is, I think there's a lot of people who can also teach something very similar. There's a lot of amazing people out there, right? At the same time, I think it was only because I went through part two, which is like, like part one was all about, okay, just really kind of embracing that fear, overcoming that fear of rejection, anxiety, approach anxiety, and just like becoming comfortable, just keeping putting myself out there and all that stuff. So that was part one. Part two was really about like understanding that, really harnessing and learning more about what I really want and honoring that, and then okay, I want to create my dream relationship. So like why has not that been a possibility in my life? And what can I do to really accept myself? What can I do to like really love myself so that I come at this whole thing from a position of true abundance, true power, true strength, true like leader, instead of like coming at it from the angle of hey, I'm here to kind of fit myself into the world, rather than the other way around. So I think part two was like arguably like, in terms of like the ROI we're talking about here, probably the most effective piece of the puzzle, I would say. And I would say if part two wasn't there, if part two hadn't been there, I probably wouldn't be here right now, And I probably, if with only part one, I could still teach, like for example, pickup dating, no problem. But then I think what makes me so unique, what makes me so powerful, what makes my coaching powerful, what makes my students so, what allows my students to achieve these like massive, like almost miraculous results in such a short period of time, I think is because like, I've been through, for example, not only part one, but also part two. And then like, when you actually go out into the world, just the way you approach it is different. The way you frame it is different. The way you see things is completely different. And I mean, I think Danny, you can probably speak on this matter better than me because you've been through it yourself. So yeah, for me, that's what really part two. It really makes the difference. But yeah, again, if I hadn't been through part one, part two wouldn't have existed either, right? So I would say that they're
Yeah,
both
they
important. Yeah,
coexist. Yeah,
exactly.
I was going to ask you something, but I forgot about it.
Hmm.
That I can't even remember what I was going to ask you.
All good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
All good. All good.
Yeah, sorry, but that was just my brain was just like, I'm going to ask you something, and then it just went neutral. Yeah,
That happens, bro.
yeah.
All good.
I mean, it's all part of the fun, though. It's just like the sort of spontaneous sort of like roller coaster of the chats, and then it just goes like it's just all somewhat like a how should I put it? A spontaneously structured roller coaster that's like you don't know which angle you're going to get hit at, but then it just all leads into maybe like a better like ride at the end anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because you're like, oh, I
Okay.
forget this, but then instead I can ask this one better.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get words to actually come to my mouth. Sorry about that.
All good. All good.
But also going back to that, is there anything in let's just say what got you to why aren't you like one of the mentors that how there's a few mentors around that mentor for free or just do it as a bit of a hobby? Why did you decide to actually go like fully in as a dating coach and choose it as your full-time job?
Mm, really excellent question, brother. Thank you for that. Yeah. The reason why that question is so powerful, brother, is because I just turned 38 not too long ago, about a month ago. And I realized that I was actually having a chat with my girlfriend about this the other day. And there have been sort of like different opportunities in my life where I could have just gone full time, as a dating coach. And who knows what would have happened, if I had said yes to these opportunities. But then right now it just became like so aligned, I mean, we kind of spoke about how earlier earlier in my journey, from like 21 to 25 or something, I just learned how to be really good at sparking attraction on the street, and sparking attraction sober, and then how to like have an amazing dating life, for example, So that was kind of like the focus, and I had I was coaching with a couple of friends of mine, and they were building this company called daygame.com back in here in London, and then I was based in New York, and then whenever they came to the States, I would like coach alongside with them. And then basically, even before that, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, like let's build a YouTube channel. Let's serve like the Asian community because in the U.S., for example, not so much anymore. I don't think so. But like, if you come from, if you're of Asian origin or something like that, if you're a minority and you're just not really viewed as like, the sexy minority. So a lot of people have like a chip on their shoulder type of thing. So, his main thing was, hey, like, let's do it. So we built up a bit of a YouTube channel, but then I just didn't feel authentic with it. For me, like, if I'm positioning myself as someone who's like a coach, I want to be very authentic with it. I'm not here to manipulate people. That's not my brand. You know me, right? So for me, it was really about like understanding that, like, I've tried so many things, right? And basically, man, I started on my journey. I was an investment banker. That was my first job, completely different. And then I ended up working at a tech company. I was a startup founder. I built like a couple of media consultancies. I built my own startup company. And then, I went on this journey. And then a few years ago, I realized that, okay, what I really want to do is, instead of like jumping around trying all these different things, now I'm kind of done with experimentation. Or experimentation never ends, because mastery comes from playfulness and experimentation, really. But then what I
Yeah.
really want to do is, like, I find something that my soul is aligned with, and I want to really kind of go all in on that, because I know I'm the type of person that once I've got that vision I'm going for, like, nothing can stop me, and I wanted to do that. And then I realized that, really, this kind of like thing dawned on me a couple of years ago, when um, I had an opportunity to become the face of this company, daygame.com. The founders, they no longer, they stopped building this company, and then they sold the brand to someone else, their friends. And their friend was essentially trying to revive the brand back up. And then the founders were like, hey, Steven would be the right person to essentially like lead the brand. He'll be the new face of the brand. He's like mature enough. He's like been through this journey with us, but he's still young. He can still connect with the younger audience. And now I think it'll be fresh. I flew to London, and then basically, I stayed here for about 2 weeks, and then I had a cameraman following me around, and then basically I was like demonstrating, how I do my thing, how I approach women, how I go on dates with them, how I go on instant dates with them, and then the vibe was on fire. So that was like one of the, you know first points that I realized that, wow, it just like, I don't even think about it. There's like a way of there's a level of ease to it, and I can just kind of relax into it, and just like I'm creating this magic. And a friend of mine, actually, you saw in all these different videos, Brendan. He told me, he was like, hey, Steven, and he hadn't even met me in person. And hey, Steven, so you're telling me that you were trying to you were meeting up with your friends, in New York, and then a friend of theirs had like some students with them, and then you just went there, and then you just kind of talked to these girls, and they wanted to do one-on-one coaching with you, and you weren't even thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's just what I do. I'm just like, dude, the fact that you don't even think about it, the fact that you just do it, without even thinking about it, and the fact that you can create these like instant results and moments out of thin air, if you can do that, do you realize that, like, you're actually like probably 1%, or like 0.001%, if it comes
Probably
natural.
even more than that, yeah. Just because
Yeah,
even the top guys, not all of them have that sort of that instant, even mechanically built in sort of mode. It's just like, okay, women, let's just talk to them. Let's just see how this goes. Maybe an instant date, or even just a date, or even just a bit of a flirtatious game.
exactly. Exactly. So I was like, okay, hang on a minute. He has a point. He has a point. Like, I've gotten I've gotten so much like experience in this field that, like, now it just becomes something that I don't even think about. It just becomes my lifestyle, right? I would just go out, and like, okay, if I see someone or something that attracts me, I just go and find out about it. And that becomes like, okay, I would connect with people, and I would create these types of like deep, meaningful connections. And then like magic happens, right? So then he was like, okay, Steven, have you considered doing this as like your career? And I was like, yeah, I've had a lot of opportunities along the way, but I don't really think about it. And he's like, why? Why is that? You can really help people. And I was like, I think part of me just had always felt like, okay, I'm not gonna really go back into it unless I say go back into it because I used to like do a lot of part-time coaching with those guys, with those friends of mine. But then I realized like only when I feel genuinely, truly complete, just within myself, that number one, in my own life, I can create my own dream relationship. I can do everything that I want to do. Um, I feel very authentic with putting myself out there, and actually helping people do this. And then, over the past couple of years, building House Manifest, which is like a, retreat, retreat idea for nomadic entrepreneurs. So like I've been building this company, and then I've been connecting all these people. And then I realized that while doing this, not only Brendan, but more guys, different people, they kept on just coming to me for advice. And like even my friends, you know, some of my closest friends, they would tell me, they would essentially like always like ask me for dating advice, relationship advice, communication, all that stuff. And then they would just give me their phones and be, hey Steven, can you just like handle my dating app? Can you just like talk to them on behalf of me? So all these things would happen, right? So I was like, wow, I think I number one, I'm very honored that they trust me enough to actually to be able to essentially hand me the full control. You know, so I feel really privileged, and I'm very grateful with this type of with the vibe that I have around me. And number two is that just like me accepting that, wow, I've been on a bit of a journey and realized that, you know what, this is like my unique sort of gift that I can offer to other people. I just, because it's just been my own journey, I never really thought anything was different. I'm just living my own life. But then as people kept on coming to me for advice, and then and some of my closest friends, they would just directly tell me, hey Steven, you're by far the most confident person I know, but not like this cocky dude, but like you have this air of confidence about you that I haven't really seen anyone has. And then I was like, okay, you know what? There's one, I can be humble about it, and I can just like not even consider that, or I can just really start looking into that. If a lot of people tell me the same thing, there must be something to it, right? And then also another part of that was that, as I alluded to earlier, I just completed my own journey of my own incompletion, my own insecurities, and I was able to develop, create the type of relationships that I've always wanted. And then after that, after I realized all of that, I was like, okay, you know what? Now it's time. Now it's time. So yeah, basically, once I decided to kind of build my coaching practice full time, a few months into that, you and I connected, right? And that's
Yeah,
how everything happened.
yeah. Let's say 3 months, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a
How was
wild
your
ride.
experience for the first 3 months? How would you describe your experience? I'm curious, actually.
It first started with, oh shit, I just spent 8 grand. Well, obviously it's Australian, so it's like it's almost like double. It's like, oh shit, I just spent 8 grand Australian. Um, this better be worth my money. So I was sort of like, I've never spent this much. I only, like, let's just say I spent maybe at max probably 3 or 4 grand at a time in one transaction, not 8 grand in a whole transaction. I'm like, I'm brand new. I'm literally just getting out of high school. I've had, I had like one really big month, and then it's just like, then Stephen popped along, and then I'm just like a bit on because I just also joined the real world at the same time. So I'm like, I'm creating a business. I'm taking another risk. What's going to kill me if I take another risk? So, and also Steve, I was just like with Stephen, like as soon as we jumped on, I'm just like, let me just pay you, or let me figure out a way just to pay you. I don't care. I'm just going to try and like get you money somehow. Like, yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do. I do.
yeah. Yours was Australian
Wow.
thinking, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty much like a journey of how it was pretty much a journey of no one believed me to start off with, and then it's more so developing the skills, and then like even now, my mates are like, my mates are sometimes like, you've got no skill, and then they just see me just rock up magically, just be like, hey, like how's it going? Plus, it also helps that I sort of know everyone, or I'm like in Brisbane, or like even let's just say when I travel to like Sydney or like the odd occasion of Melbourne, like we've done once before, but even it's like sometimes it's like, hey, I got to like I got a good feeling about this, and then we just start from there. Or I've also had a few times where she starts interaction, I just sit there, and then she's just said, "You've just completely opened up my heart." It's just from also the vibe that we've just created with each other. I've just also like used a lot of your elements into it, and it's just created more so relationships that I would never believe would even happen. Oh, and also
Mm.
you'd love this. One of my mates said, was it? I'm only going to hang around you when I'm talking to chicks just because you have that vibe of I can achieve anything. I'm going to pull this off, even if I've got no chance in hell to pull it off. Like, he's just like, yeah. He said that to
I
me.
love
It's
that.
just like, yeah. It's just like, he's like, you're fucking crazy. Like, why do you do the stuff you do? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm just like, just look at the story at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's just
I
like
love that.
also from that vibe that I've got from Steven, it's like a chill, but it's like it's I don't know, it's like a Steven with a bit of a more of a this is like Steven with a bit more of like what was it? Bit more of like a fighter, but also like a very logical standpoint. Because
Mm.
because obviously fighters got to have that ego of like I can do anything. I can beat my opponent in X amount of rounds by doing this move at this time.
Mm.
That plus it's got like a bit of that more so like beach Hawaiian like chill from obviously from you, which is like smoothed out the process and also made it like people just their hearts just be like that two switches of people. It's just like that. And then we've just also just grown and just developed so many other little seeds about my own personality into that to create a character of like a would you say more so like a jack of all trades, more so like the jack of all trades can pull anything off sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, and it's just also the approaching is just like I'm just like sometimes I was like, is it even worth me approaching? I already know what's going to happen. Like,
You can already predict it.
yeah, because I'm just like, I got a vibe from you. I got a vibe from you. I can see how this is going to turn out. I can see how this is going to turn out. Or I'm just like, I don't have the energy. I just know this is going to turn out this way, this way. And it's like, you've also helped me foresee the future in that sort of way.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
I love that,
Oh,
brother.
yeah.
I
Some of the
love
wild
that.
rides been on.
Damn. And I mean, you haven't even talked about like your relationship right now that you're able to create after our work together as well,
Yeah. She's just sitting
right?
in the background, just smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's a little bit of a story to that, but it's more so. She's also. I think it's also just I haven't asked her exactly, but she's just like, as long as you don't cheat on me, I'll obviously like be with you. Like, I all I want to do is just be with you. Even though you annoy me, make me angry, it's just that emotion, that whole emotional roller coaster. She's just like, I just want to be with you.
Mm. That's powerful, bro.
Yeah,
That's powerful. And you've created that, right? And I'm so glad to have sort of like guided you along this journey. And the fact that you were able to, you said yes to this opportunity, and then this type of opportunity doesn't come along, right? That frequently in life. Number one, you built up like good enough of a karma, I think, right? So that we cross paths, and then you said yes to it. Number two, it just speaks volumes about like how you actually approach life, you know, and how much love that you have for yourself, and how much you really believe in yourself, right? And then what kind of vision you have, you know, beyond yourself, actually. And I think maybe you haven't really sat down and then like verbalize everything, but that's what I feel from you, right? For someone who's like 19, who's just like, I told you, I'm like 21 and I'm like very moody, depressed, just like, and then for you, it's almost like you have this level of maturity that I only started having in my late 20s or even my early 30s. That's wild, you know. So obviously, I want to salute you, because you know you created that. So yeah.
But also, the difference is I also had my first heartbreak at 14,
Mm,
13, 14, and also my
mm,
schooling life wasn't easy, which I think
mm,
that's where all the maturity was built from.
yeah.
And then it also just compounded from there. So it's like that's where I caught up to you because I'm just like I got to
Mm,
take my life serious. I got no other option.
mm,
Yeah, and plus I try
yeah.
to become a professional athlete, so it's like that's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
see
I
some
think that's what the
similarities
maturity
there.
does. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it. Yeah, brother. Powerful.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
just also it's like how do you just also it's just like even before you even hop on the phone, how do you just like create this spark out of like thin air, and it's just like there's people that are just like so attracted to that vibe that they're just like that's all I like. That's just like just like hand me your money. I can already feel this before like we've even connected. How do you just end up creating that sort of vibe? And you're just like also all those sort of relationships where it's just like I just need to hang around this guy.
Mm, yeah. Brother, your level of questions is just insane, number one. And I think just the fact that we work together, we've kind of been on a journey allows us to kind of create these to sort of like amazing, back and forth. At the same time, I'm just so impressed by your questions, and I really appreciate that. You're kind of like pushing me to kind of verbalize, specify, and clarify all these different things, for the audience, right? So super excited for you. Number one, I just wanted to acknowledge that. Um, yeah, brother, I would say, how do I create that spark even before jumping on a call? It's not something that I think about really, right? It's like, hey, like I'm gonna make sure that I spark some type of stuff before even we meet. I think it kind of goes back to like just my overall macro frame and how I actually navigate alongside with that frame. So my frame is such that, hey, I'm here, I am on a mission to really find whoever, like, I'm on a mission to help extraordinary souls to develop and create their dream lives, And relationship is something that I really specialize in first, right? First and foremost. So let's do that. And my job is like rather than me kind of falling into anyone's frame, I know what I can offer. I know what I can help, and I'm here to qualify. And whoever qualifies, we're just gonna have an amazing journey together. I just know that. So everything, like I think, just like the little conversation before we hopped on the phone for the first time, like we only chatted, like text here back and forth. So I think a lot of my
There's like
vibe.
5 or 6 different texts. There's like has like hey there's like something like hey mate what type of girls you're interested in, and then it just went from there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I think it just kind of like flows naturally because like I'm here to also like qualify people who speak my language. And it just so happens that, you know, it goes both ways, right? Like for me, I'm here to really help a lot of people that really understand my vibe, fit my vibe. So this is why I have to be selective, and I am selective, right? It's not just like another Joe Schmo that wants to like improve their life, and then it's like, okay, let me help you. Well, there's like billions of people out there. There's only like a limited number of people I can like help, and I really want to help for now, right? Especially in this like one-on-one context. And it just so happens that I think you went through a type of journey early on, some painful ones that I'm sure now you feel very grateful for because you're like complete with all these different things. You like when you spoke to me, you kind of resonated with my language. You resonated with my vibe, right? In ways that you can't really verbally, logically explain, but like something about you about your vibe subconsciously must have resonated with the way I use certain words, the way I phrase certain things, you know the way I move through the world, the way I speak, the way I, qualify, different people, including you. And then you're like, okay, something about this guy, I can't explain it, but I resonate with him. I just want to like connect. And that's what really happens. And funny enough, that's what I teach, in especially in the romantic context, right? And yeah, and I'm glad that again, I'm glad that we got connected, and I'm glad that you said yes to this amazing opportunity, because again, it's only for the extraordinary, and you are one. right? And yeah, you just yeah, it just
It
investing
just
in that
happens.
much amount of money, yeah, at such a young age, it's only for the crazy actually when you think about it, right? The vast majority of my clients,
Yeah.
they're like 25, I mean even 28 to like some of them are in their early 40s, right? And you are literally by that standard, you're like 15, 20 years like earlier. You know? So you're
Yeah.
definitely an outlier, I would say, you know?
An outlier within an outlier. That's what. Yeah, that's what we used to joke about. It's just it's just like you don't have too many people who are just like, let's just do this. You sort of got to like sell, not really sell them. You sort of just got to slowly help them through the process and be like, does this actually match with both of us, and does it actually suit for you? And also,
Exactly.
I'd say they don't have as much as a risk tolerance or as much self belief and even anger to an extent that I've got because I'm just like,
Mm.
either become rich or die trying. I don't care. I'm gonna be either poor living on a beach in Thailand or just living in like a multi-billion-dollar mansion.
Yeah.
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 I
I
think
love that.
they've got a bit more of a risk vibe, and maybe also have to look after kids, and yeah,
Exactly.
that's probably also
Exactly.
where we like massively differ.
Yeah. 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 I agree with that. For me, it's more like it's like, hey, I wanna live a life that's I wanna build my life uh that's really aligned with my own unique vision, you know? And that's why like, I went to my business school's reunion a few months ago here in London. I graduated, I got my master's in business, like MBA degree 5 years ago. And a lot of my classmates are like around my age as well, right? And we reconnected, and a lot of them have kids, big houses, and all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. I certainly want that as well. I'm just not there yet right now, and I have my own unique journey. I'm there. Like I'm also here to create my own family and my house and all that stuff. Like in a couple of years, like for me, it's more about actually what's really authentic to me, and let's honor that. This is why it kind of goes back to this whole thing we were speaking about before, where yes, I could have said yes to all these different opportunities to become a to actually do this thing, coaching, dating, relationships full time. But it wasn't the right timing for me yet. At least that's what I felt. And now everything just aligned, and yeah, the right timing is really really important. And so for me, that's kind of like how I see it, right? At the same time, yeah, it's for me, it's more about okay. I think you kind of like understood as well as we started working together. Is the core vibe of my philosophy, the core part of like what I really coach and teach is that everyone's got their own unique individuality and authenticity that's very true to them, and me as a coach, as your guide, is not to really disagree with you or to like argue with you or fight you, right? Is to really honor your own individual authenticity and vision and higher purpose. As long as it's like something that's actually good for the world, I'm here to honor that, and let's help you bring your authenticity out of yourself so that you can actually speak that truth, not only with your mates, with like your closest mates, friends, family, whatever. You can do that with women, you can do that with men, you can do that with whoever, so that you become someone who actually can enroll any possibility into your life that you want to create anytime, anywhere, right? And yeah, that's why it's like, yeah, there's a part of me where I'm like, hey, I'm here to qualify people, right, who actually resonates with my message. And in order for you to be able to resonate with my message, my vision, like we need to look at in general, like a very similar direction, right? And then once we see it the same, once our frame is very similar, then you're like, okay, I get Steven. He doesn't even need to say all these different things explicitly. I just feel from his energy. It's all about energetics at the end of the day, right? When I can feel it, then okay, like here's like how I think about like here's how I want to create my own extraordinary life. Then okay, now I'm like, okay, I hear that I got that. How can I help you bring that out even further? Let's go to the depths. let's bring that out, and let's create, let's have you really paint this super exciting life, your own individually, uniquely extraordinary life that yeah, you're excited about. So let's help you paint that, and let's have you serve other people powerfully as well, along with that journey. So yeah, that's really the vibe.
But also that would follow through the karma and also your own personal conviction within that person. Like also obviously you're their mentor, you're coaching, and you're very selective. So obviously you've got massive conviction in them, but also you've got obviously enough of a vision to see you in yours, but also possibly in house manifest, and also them also in your does it? They also see you in their vision as well. So that's like that doesn't happen that often though. I'm just thinking that as well. Like
Mm,
with
mm,
the visions and also with like your conviction in most of what your clients do. Let's just say if it's like a degenerating habit like gambling, yeah, that's another thing because you're like that's not actually helping you unless you do it like I'm just providing that for an example that just came off the top of my head. But yeah,
yeah.
you've got that very strong conviction in your clients as well. That's also like helping you guide them and also like more so follow the path that's least taken, but also it's a path that you know, and also it's the path that's also with the most light at the end of the tunnel. But also it has probably enough suffering that it's gonna change and develop them enough, but not completely destroy them.
Mm, mm.
Yeah,
100%,
like because you don't
100%.
want them to go through your pain at the end of
Exactly.
the day.
Exactly, exactly. No, that's really spot on, brother. That's why, for example, like let's say gambling as an example.
Yeah,
I just know intuitively that, like, okay, let's not go there, let's not go there. At the same
yeah.
time, I don't want to I as a guide, as your guide, as your coach, it's my duty to like steer you in the right direction, and there's a right timing for everything, right? And for me right now, yeah, shaping you, helping shape you in this direction where, okay, like let's do good for the world, and let's actually tame your beast a little bit, right? At the same time, like if I say, hey, like Danny, gambling is bad, don't do it, whatever, right? That's one way to actually shape you. I just know that me telling you that in this way is not gonna move the needle, right? I just know
No,
it.
it's like a pig on a stick. It's like I want to gamble more.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
just know it, and that's my duty, right? Also, because as I've gotten to know you more, I understand your communication style. I understand what incentivizes you, what motivates you, what drives you. What really gets you to like really take massive action and go for it. And for me, because I know that, I sort of like say the right things at the right time, so that, like, you know for example, we don't even talk about gambling that much, because for me right now it's just not it's not really like that big of a deal.
no,
If it ever gets really serious, then we'll have a conversation about it, for
yeah.
example. But yeah, it's like this is I believe it's like the role of a coach and guide, which is, yeah, how do you shape them in the best possible way, because that is my duty, that is our duty, right? Yeah.
But also, just another question: how do you end up seeing your clients in your end of the day vision? And also, what guides you? Would it be like God, the universe? Also, what guides you to choose the clients, or God, universe, karma? Is that sort of what guides you to choose the clients based on like how you see them in the future as well? I just forgot to add that.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, bro, it's interesting. You know how, like, you just told me a few moments ago, a few minutes ago, that when you before you even meet that person, before you even have a conversation with that person, intuitively you can kind of tell what the vibe is going to be like, kind of, right?
yeah,
You can kind of sense it from a macro perspective. And yeah, a lot of the time, just like kind of like the moment, like within the first, I would say 2-3 minutes, I can kind of understand. I can kind of picture what the vibe is going to be like, right? Um, it's not always 100%, true, because we're always here to create our own uniquely individual scenarios.
Plus, we're
But I can
changing a
kind of
lot
like,
irrationally. Yeah.
yeah. I can usually kind of predict like certain things, right? So there's that. And then once we have like a deeper conversation, I can understand, okay, what their what their pains are, what their problems are, and what their challenges are, what their goals are, and why. Why do they have these goals? What have they tried so far to really bridge the gap between their challenges and their goals, right? Are they really hungry actually to take action? Why? Why are they hungry? Why now? What's actually really driving them? What have they done to solve these problems before so far? Are they the type of person that actually really, really invests in themselves? Are they the type of person that actually really bets on themselves? And this is really huge because, you know, it's almost like the way I see it is that I am solving my own problem that I used to have back in the day. So it's almost like when I talk to you, when I talk to my prospective clients, when I qualify them, I'm like, okay, I just imagine myself having a conversation with, my former self, former Steven, right? Okay, he's got a lot of problems, but he's really hungry. He's almost willing to do anything, but then he's also willing to find the right person, to find the right mentor and coach, right, to really guide him through. So it's really about like, do I, as a coach, do I actually really believe that I can help this person? So that's number one. And once I believe that I'm the right person, do they also believe that? Do we speak the same language? Are they coachable? Are they gonna like, essentially, there's we always talk about these three rules, right? Are they gonna do what we agreed that we're gonna do? Are they gonna are they gonna not let fear get in the way of them taking action? Are they gonna be honest with themselves? Are they gonna be honest with me? Are they gonna be willing to look deeper into their soul, depths of their soul, and then be like, hey, this is actually what's going on? And are they going to be open to me, right? So all these things. So there's a lot of, obviously, different layers of nuance here. And it's about like, it's really about the energetics, because I really believe that timing is really important. So it's like, okay, is this the right time, for me to step in and then really help them? Do they have the hunger? And are they really like, and all that's the whole like problems, goals, and all that stuff. So that's really important. That's like the first thing. But then the second thing is like, are they just good people? Do I want to be around with these people? Do they have the power to actually inspire the world? Because for me, that's kind of like really how I see it. And that's that, like, those are the types of people that I really want to lead and, guide and coach. Because once, imagine like you're 19, brother, right? Imagine like 20 years from now, you're like 30, 39, right? I'm 38 right now. So like 20 years from
I'll be
now, like
40
let's say,
December. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
right?
so like that. Yeah. For that
Yeah. So
example.
it's like, when you're my age, and then we've developed this relationship for like 20 years from now, like what kind of life that you're gonna have? And let's say like I have our relationship, and then let's say I have like hundreds of other relationships. Like, what is a world gonna look like? And I'm excited about that type of world where, I've led all these different people and all these like amazingly extraordinary people like you are just like smashing it, killing it. They're like they're growing super exciting and enrolling lives, on their own terms. At the same time, they're also spreading the vibe. Like you are also inspiring, just by you having this, putting out this podcast, just by you taking action, just by you having this type of conversation, just by you spreading your vibe and all that stuff. Like you are already making ripples. You're already making waves. Imagine what is the vibe gonna look like 20 years from now? That's
Yeah.
gonna be
Just
insane. I
20
can't
years of
even
us
fathom it.
podcasting as well.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, really, it's just like, wow, yeah. This is what really drives me, and this is what allows me to, okay, like this is how I really qualify people. Do they have like a vision that really extends, really goes beyond themselves, as well? Because that's really important.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. And also, it very much aligns with also what you told me. Pretty much what you want to get out of your clients, and also what you want to get out of life as well.
Mm.
Yeah. Also, I'm just curious on a bit of a psychological standpoint. Have you done much reading into Jung and also how you mentioned before the the abyss of the soul? Like you know how they got the how you mentioned they got the darkness that they don't necessarily want to show, but sometimes they will tell you about it. Do you sometimes have a feeling that that darkness goes in too deep, or even let's just say for dating or relationships, does it turn into a sort of self-destructive sort of relationship, or how have you
Mm,
seen that being implemented, and how have you managed to more so fix that darkness within them and flip the script on that?
mm, mm. Really amazing question, brother. Yeah, I've seen that happens a lot, right? And it's just something that I'm also learning more about because sometimes, like when I meet people, like that darkness you're talking about, everyone's got it. Number one, and I might not be able to sense that, or I might not necessarily like know about it because if they have them really buried so deep inside of themselves, there's no way for me to really know about them. I might be able to sense it, right? But then I wouldn't know. Usually, that type of vibe comes out when, for example, we're working together. We're like, bringing everything into court, and I'm just kind of like working through your issues and challenges, and I'm getting them to open up. And sometimes, like, for example, there's some repeating patterns, or like, for example, we're working on something. For example, let's say like, how do you, instead of just going up to say hi to some women just from the perspective of like breaking the ice, but like, hey, let's actually give them value, let's make observations about the world. One client I've been working with, like, he just has so much trouble doing that, right? So what's actually really going on? Why is it so difficult for him? And then I've attacked it. I've attacked the issue in so many different angles. Talking about helping him, have a breakthrough. You know, like attacking different dimensions of the issue. But then it's almost like the day goes by, and then the very next day we meet, he'd be like, "Man, like, can you do this again?" I was like, "Okay." Clearly, there's like some either like a blind spot or there's like a lot of resistance here. We're doing a lot of work together, but then he just not really seeing it, or like either he just like refuses to see it that way. So then basically I would call it out. I'd be like, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing," because like you're just like it's not that like you haven't learned this. You've learned all of this. For example, we recorded all this stuff. You can watch this tape. You can do this, but like you're almost scared to go deep because like there's something really really deep beneath the veneer here where you're something really happened, and like there's like a degree of self like doubt, self hate, even, and like you just don't even like just answering simple questions like, hey, like what's something that I cannot tolerate? What's something that I really love that not a lot of people really like know about? It's like something arguably very simple questions. Like he would really have a lot of trouble kind of answering this question, right? So then, okay, let me call it out. Let me call out the elephant in the room, and then let's see kind of like what opens up, right? So sometimes when that happens, it's just I just have to really kind of call it out and then see how they actually open up, and it's their job whether to really open up or not open up, and that really determines like the level of their transformation, you know. Usually, your transformation starts from number one. The first starting point is acknowledgement. Are you there to really acknowledge that you have certain issues or problems? Do you see also what something that others see? It's not always 100% right, but are you at least open enough to start opening up about these different things? And yeah, once they acknowledge that, then everything kind of the floodgate kind of like open up, right? So yeah, I would leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I always had. Oh, I was just thinking. I just had another one, but I was just. We'll just leave it for next time, just because it's 8:15 over here, and is it like 11 a.m. over there? Like 11:15. Yeah.
11:13 a.m. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got about
Yeah.
like 15 more minutes.
I was just thinking we should. I'm just gonna cut it there, just because it's like, and we just don't want to make you too late. Yeah.
Up to you, brother. I mean, I've got 15 more minutes, so it's up to you. You can ask more questions, or we can leave it for another time. Yeah,
We'll just leave it for
it's
another
been
time. We got to
talking.
keep the audience hooked. We got to keep the
Yeah,
audience
yeah,
hooked.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's do that.
So we'll leave it. We'll leave it for here for now. This is going to
Cool.
be part one of probably. So I mean, it's going to be probably going back and forth for a while,
Yeah.
if not infinitely. But yeah, we're just going to leave this as part one for now.
Mm.
Thanks for having you on, Stephen.
Thank you, Danny. It's been a huge pleasure. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great been hearing about your story and like every other element of how your character's actually developed and also evolved over the last 38 years of your life. Can't wait to jump
Mm.
back into more of it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Super excited.
Can't wait. Well, we're just gonna let the audience go and do it from
Cool.
there. I don't really just do that.